Okay, we're recording.
Okay, I'm calling this meeting of the Phoenix AMA Groundwater Users Advisory Council to order. Today is September 16th and the time is 10:01 a.m. I'm Leslie Myers and I'll be chairing the meeting today. Would the other council members please introduce yourselves?
My name is Stephen Bales, a council member living in Buckeye, Arizona, and a farmer.
I'm Frank Fairbanks, a retired individual living in Phoenix.
Okay, I think it's just the
Retired.
three.
Lucky you, Frank. Retirement. Yahoo.
Well, it's harder than, this is Frank Fairbanks. It's harder than you think being successfully retired.
Well, we have a quorum. Would the ADWR staff members please introduce yourselves?
Yes, good morning. My name is Taylor Pearson, and I am the new AMA Programs Team Supervisor. I oversee the GUAC Coordinator, our WMAP Grant Coordinator, as well as our IGFR Conveyances and Relinquishments. I will pass it to Tommy.
Good morning. My name is Tommy. I am the AMA Grant Coordinator. I manage the WMAP grant program and the DCP fund.
We can go to David here.
David French, AMA Director.
Okay.
Madeline Oliver, Water Resources Specialist for the Arizona Water Banking Authority.
Okay. And yes, that's the staff here today.
Okay, thank you. If audience members are interested in introducing themselves, would you please type your name and affiliation in the chat box? I think we're going to move on to agenda item 2, meeting logistics, and I'll pass it back to Taylor.
Yes, thank you, Leslie. Good morning, everyone. Before we get started here, I would like to go over some webinar logistics. Members of the public, we ask that you please keep your audio muted during the meeting. This helps reduce any audio feedback. If during the meeting you have a question, please feel free to type your question in the chat box, and they will be read and addressed at the end of each agenda item. If you would like to speak to the council, the call to the public will be the time to do so. Please indicate in the chat that you would like to speak, and we will unmute you at that time. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted to ADWR's website and YouTube page once the recording is generated. If you are having any technical difficulties, please contact our help desk. Their contact information can be found here on the screen. If you would like to be added to the GUAC mailing list, please email myself at tpearson@azwater.gov, indicating which email you would like to add to the mailing list, and please be specific on which AMA, the Phoenix AMA, so that I can add you to the correct list. Presenters today, please ask for the next slide when presenting your agenda item. In order to allow for time for questions and to ensure that every agenda item is heard, please keep your presentation to 10 minutes. I will provide a 1-minute warning in the chat as you approach the end of your time. All right, thank you. That is all. Mrs. Myers.
Thanks, Taylor. We'll move on to agenda item 3, Water Banking Authority.
Okay. I am not Rebecca Burnett, but I will be presenting in her stead this morning. My name, again, is Madeline Oliver. I'm the Water Resources Specialist for the Arizona Water Banking Authority. And I'm going to present today our preliminary plan of operation for 2026. So for 2026, the Bureau of Reclamation has announced a Tier 1 shortage, which means that we are looking at a reduction of 512,000 acre-feet to Arizona's Colorado River water. This means that there will be 0 water available for the CAP excess pool, 0 for the CAP ag pool, and a large impact to the NIA priority pool as well, which will trigger Indian firming by the bank. With no excess CAP water, the bank will not be able to store water to accrue credit. However, we will be able to develop them through the purchase of ICS firming credits pursuant to our IGA with the Gila River Indian community, and through the purchase of long-term storage credits as well. Here we are looking at the funding for calendar year 2026. In 2026, the bank will spend $373,454 of withdrawal fees collected in the Phoenix AMA to purchase 1,157 acre-feet of ICS firming credits, pursuant again to our IGA with the community. This purchase will complete our commitment to purchase ICS under that agreement, which was part of DCP. And with the rest of our withdrawal fees in the Phoenix and Tucson AMAs, we will be looking for opportunities to purchase long-term storage credits. Regarding the firming that I mentioned before, using CAP's current estimates, we have calculated our firming obligation to the Gila River Indian community to be 10,281 acre-feet in 2026. We will use firming credits, which correspond to water that was pre-delivered on reservation in 2017 and 2018. And we anticipate no firming needed for CAP M&I subcontractors or on-river contractors. And likewise, no request has been made for intentionally created unused apportionment for Southern Nevada Water Authority next year. And I will note these estimates from CAP are as of yet preliminary, so it's possible this firming volume will may be adjusted later in the year. In this table, you can see those 10,281 acre-feet of firming credits that are being projected to be used to firm the community next year. Afterwards, we will have 1,119 acre-feet of firming credits remaining to firm the community afterwards. But we will be able to use long-term storage credits and ICS firming credits to fulfill that obligation after 2026. Also after 2026, we anticipate completing the DCP reciprocal exchange. The last entity has requested to exchange their credits that were accrued in the Pinal AMA for ones that we hold in the Phoenix AMA. And they have until the end of 2026 to request this exchange, but have already contacted us. So we are just waiting for them to complete the forms. This exchange will be for a total of 6,650 acre-feet, which you can see reflected here in the table as well. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Madeline. Does anybody have any questions for Madeline?
Nothing here unless.
Frank, I think you're on mute again.
I'm sorry, Frank Fairbanks. Madeline, is the water bank in any way participating or involved in the Navajo settlement that was recently announced?
Chair Fairbanks, members of the council, good morning. This is Rebecca Burnett. I'm the manager of the Water Banking Authority. Thank you, Madeline, for presenting our preliminary plan this morning. No, we are not involved in that settlement.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Frank. So I think then we're ready to move on to agenda item number 4, Water Management Assistance Program update from Tommy.
Okay, and just before we start Tommy's presentation here, I did see some members of the public that introduced themselves in the chat. I don't believe that's visible to everybody, so just wanted to introduce them here. We have JD Roner from the Arizona Cotton Growers Association. We have Andrew Fraser, the district engineer with Maricopa Water District, as well as Jeremiah Churchill from the town of Gilbert, a water resources and conservation coordinator. So thank you all for introducing yourselves. Would you like this?
Yes. All right. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and good morning, council members and members of the public. I will be going over the Water Management Assistance Program fund balance, the status of the DCP groundwater conservation grant, and introduce the projects that are renewing and those that are completed. So the current balance is $631,611. Of that, $356,861 is committed, leaving a balance of $274,750. Now, if WCMP is renewed, it would add $216,000 to the encumbered or committed amount, totaling to $572,861 of encumbered or committed balance. And it would also reduce the remaining balance to $58,750. In any case, we expect to collect about $267,706 annually at the current withdrawal fee rate. Right. On the screen is a chart of the WMAP fees collected for the past 5 years. The fee for the year 2021 to 2023 has been 25 cents. It was raised to 30 cents for 2024 and was raised to 35 cents per acre foot for 2025. The admin and enforcement fee is 50 cents, and the water bank fee is $2.50, for a grand total of $3.35 per acre foot. Right? The projects that are currently funded with the WMAP funds are the Arizona Project WET, the Residential Water Use Phase 2 project, Smartscape Professional Landscape Training Program, the Water Conservation Management Program, and the Town of Gilbert Rebate Program. The Smartscape project was recently renewed in the spring, and two of the projects, namely the Water Conservation Management Program and the Town of Gilbert Rebate Program, will be presenting for their renewal today. One project named DCP Leak Detection Equipment Replacement Project, we'll see in the next slide in a bit, also received some of their funding from WMAP. Next, I will give you an update on the groundwater conservation grant. There are two projects that are still ongoing. They are the El Mirage Water Conservation Program and the Leak Detection Equipment Replacement Project. The most recently completed project, namely the Northern Avenue Lateral Surface Water Capacity Restoration Project, will be presenting their accomplishment today. And the Leak Detection Equipment Replacement Project, which has been funded by both DCP and WMAP funds, have $0 left of DCP funding, but $6,000 left of WMAP funding. And lastly, I have included our projections for WMAP funds. In this slide, we can see the projection of the WMAP fund balance after the WMAP fees are increased from 30 cents per acre foot to 35 cents per acre foot starting on the year 2025. And the chart on the right shows the balance projections if WCMP is renewed. The dark blue bars show the cost of WMAP legacy contracts. The light blue bars show the expected WMAP fee per year collected, and the orange line shows the expected WMAP balance. And in this slide, we can see the WMAP fund projection if the WMAP fee had been increased from 30 cents acre foot to 40 cents per acre foot starting on the year 2025. Same thing, the chart shows the balance projection if WCMP is renewed and if the fees were at 40 cents per acre foot starting on the year 2025. And yeah, before we move on to the presentation, are there any questions regarding the WMF funds or the groundwater conservation project?
I don't have any questions right now.
Leslie,
Yes.
it's Steve. I'm looking at what's being on the screen right now, and they're using 40 cents. Aren't we at 35?
Correct.
Yes.
This is a projection if it's 40 cents, but this one shows the 35 cents, which is where we're at now.
Okay.
And so, Tommy, this is Leslie. Let me ask a quick question. My understanding is that this graph does not include the 2 new proposed projects that we're going to hear about today. Is that correct?
This graph shows the amount if we are renewing WCMP. The reason why is because WCMP has been consistently renewed in the past. That's why the chart shows that. But yeah, the chart shows if we are renewing WCMP.
So to clarify one point further there, the WCMP is what we would consider one of our legacy contracts. There is an additional presentation today that is not included in this projection. So if this legacy contract is up for renewal and does get renewed, we will see that balance in the far right-hand column there. And any additional projects presented, that balance will, I guess, come out of what is left in that right-hand column. So that's why we provided the projections for both 35 cents to see, I guess, the bandwidth to expand to more projects, or also what the projection looks like if that fee were to increase to 40 cents. And then you can see, you know, the amount of balance remaining for future projects from there. So we tried to visualize different scenarios here to be able to see what that balance looks like.
So this is Leslie. The second project that we're going to be hearing about today is that the Gilbert Smart Irrigation Controller Rebate Program?
Correct.
And so we don't have something that shows us here what the impact of that would be.
Not directly, but
Okay.
that project would be a renewal. And the last time that we did fund that project, it was a total of $45,000 that was funded through the WMAP program. And so we will find out more from the presentation today if that is the same balance up for renewal. But essentially that $45,000 can be taken out of the total on the right-hand column, I guess, if both projects are to be renewed.
Okay.
So if we
Okay.
see if we keep it here at 35 cents, that's our space there.
Okay. And I think we can ask some questions as we move into that, but it's 45,000 total, not 45,000 a year, right?
I might have to look into that. I can answer after I get the answer for you.
Okay. All right. So, Tommy, are we ready to move on to agenda item 5 then? Or actually, do Steve or Frank or anyone, do you have any other questions?
I'm good for right now. Thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Right. So let's move on to agenda item 5, and let's look at the contract renewals. Is Chris Fredman ready to present?
I guess it is Fredman. I guess that's my cue. I was waiting for Tommy to interject first. Apologize for that. Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for having us. My name is Chris Fredman. I am the operator and the manager of the Water Conservation Management Program on behalf of the Buckeye Valley Natural Resource Conservation District. I did want to also introduce Tim Grandy, who is attending the meeting this morning. He's the chairman of the conservation district in Buckeye Valley. And just kind of a side note real quick, just in case something does happen, I do moonlight as a firefighter and I am on duty right now. So you may hear some loud alarms going off and loud voices in the background, and I may need to exit rapidly. And if that does happen, Tim will stand in my place. So I apologize for any inconvenience that may cause, but unfortunately, I serve the community in lots of capacities. So, with that being said, again, thank you for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to always come in and speak with the GUAC and talk about some of the successes that the WCMP has throughout its years. We can go down to the next slide, please. Obviously, the program would not be. I'm sorry, the second slide. I just want to talk about that. Just hit on how important this effort is in the cooperation between the districts, ADWR, and obviously the support of the GUAC over the years. This program, as we'll get into it just a little bit, has had a great impact throughout the industry in this AMA. We can go down to the next slide. Originally, the WCMP was started way back in '91, and then through its evolution and growth, we reestablished it in 2013 and moved it over to Buckeye Valley a couple of years ago, with a little better representation within the industry through that leadership of that district board. And I continue to stay involved with the program as I have for almost 30 years now. Which has been a great honor of mine. We started off as down in Pinal County running the program down there, and then I transitioned up here into this AMA and have been for quite some time now. I bring with me a lot of experience from that start almost 30 years ago with the Cal Poly irrigation short courses at the ITRC there, San Luis Obispo, as well as several other short courses and certification courses throughout the years. But it's really as I'm sitting here on duty as a firefighter, it's really my passion to get out and help people maximize their efficiencies and be as productive as possible. That really, I think, drives the success of the program. Not to toot my own horn, but I kind of am. We can put down to the next slide, please. And the next one. So some of the things the way that we go about helping growers throughout the program years is we have several different services that we provide. One of them is our standard irrigation system evaluation. This evaluation looks at different technical aspects or components of the system as well as managerial strategies. Ultimately, we derive from this a determination of the irrigation efficiency for a system at that time, and then provide recommendations or suggestions to improve their efficiency if plausible at that point. There may be situations where a large investment needs to be done to really bring them up to meet their potential. So we try to keep those recommendations as practical as possible so that there's not as much of an investment and we have an immediate tangible result. We can skip down to the next slide, please. Along with these standard evaluations that take in a large portion, if you will, of their IWM strategies, we also offer technical and ag BMP services. These services are a little bit more component specific driven, if you will. For instance, someone may call and ask for a flow rate measurement, or help scheduling their upcoming irrigation, taking that guesswork out of when they need to water again, which seems to be a really big component for a lot of the growers that we serve, is helping them decide when to actually start an irrigation event. And then from there, we can kind of build and start improving things even further. Yeah, we can skip down to the next slide. So in addition to those technical in the field type services that we provide, We also try to reach the general public as well as maintain contact with our growers that we've worked with over the years through several different promotional and outreach activities. Those can be anything from newsletters to workshops, speaking engagements, other public events. Over the last couple of years, actually, I've even participated in some live social media interviews with Farm Bureau and talking about where we address the actual program, its affiliates, and then what we do for the industry and the importance of conserving the water moving forward. As of late, we have actually established a web presence, and you can actually visit that anytime you want. That's at www.waterconservationmp.com. Water conservation, and then for management program, mp.com. And that just gives us an internet presence. We're pretty proud of that. We worked for a while getting that thing up and running. I'm not the most savvy computer person, but we got it done, and it's a nice presence. It provides kind of an overview of the program. Again, its association with its affiliates, the department. It also provides some resources for people that want to visit the site. As far as newsletters go, some of our newsletters that we've published over the years are up on there that people can use as those resources. And then there's a way to directly contact me via the website, either by phone or by email. So just one way to continue reaching across all demographics and media. We can go down to the next slide, please. So at the end of each program year, the WCMP conducts a grower survey, which allows program participants the opportunity to provide us some feedback about their experience with the program. Some of those things are some general questions, and then some of them are a little bit more specific, like what kind of value do they put on the program, and would they vote for continuing to fund the program? Historically, it's always been positive, and those are all published in our annual reports. But you can see here where some of the estimates that have been derived over the last 11 years, since 2013. On the average, we have a positive impact of over 21,000 acres. And again, these are estimates provided by growers, not by me. A conserved water amount of approximately 89,000 acre feet. That's about, on average, 8,100 acre feet a year. And I think that's quite substantial and something to be very proud of, I think. Which equates to around 22,000 households, according to Maricopa County figures, and over 85,000 individuals on an annual basis. We can move down to the next slide, please. These are just some quotes here from cooperators that they've provided on their own. Again, this is an anonymous grower survey, if you will, questionnaire, if you will, that they do at the end of the year. One gentleman put on here that he literally saved half of his annual water usage on his alfalfa as a result of working with the program. Again, substantial. And we didn't do anything. There was no change in the system. This was purely about irrigation scheduling during the off season. And a couple other comments there, just from growers. You can see the impact we have. It's pretty positive. We can move down to the next slide, please. This is just an example of one of the newsletters that I produced for our growers, our participants, and anybody else that happens to be on our mailing list. I know some of you with the ADWR gets bombarded with stuff from me, but this is just an example of one of the newsletters we put out, and it's about overall water usage and scheduling with wheat, providing the historical consumptive use chart for that crop and when some of the critical growth stages are for maximizing their overall production and quality. We can move on to the next one. This is just a snapshot of one of the Ag BMP workshops that we held. I believe this one was before the fourth management plan, so this was a couple years ago. There was a lot of interest in that program and what was happening to it as we were moving forward in the management programs. We can move on to the next slide, please. This was an NRCS intern IWM training workshop. We were asked to participate, well, not just participate, but basically host, where there was interns from around the country that had no idea about irrigation, certainly not surface irrigation. And they asked for our assistants to come out and help teach some of the IWM stuff that is important to Arizona. And again, you can see here it was great success, big turnout, and they were very appreciative of the information that they received. We can move on to the next slide, please. And this is me doing an Arizona Farm Bureau Instagram live thing. Yeah, a little awkward, but it actually turns out pretty good, and I enjoy doing it. We do get some live people asking questions and stuff while we're actually doing it. So it's kind of a neat format. It's a little bit different for me, but it works out pretty neat. And we hit a different demographic. So it's kind of a neat opportunity to do that. And I appreciate Julie for asking me to do that with her. It's been a kind of a, like I said, a unique thing. We can move on to the next one. This is just a quick snapshot of part of our standard irrigation evaluation summary sheet. The actual summary that the grower receives is a 4-page report. This is just the first page that shows, just so you can see some of the technical information that we compile about the irrigation system as a whole, the specific field information, what the water source is, soils information, characteristics, water holding capacities, the amount of water that's needed at the time of the irrigation, and then the specific irrigation information at that point, whether it was a border type irrigation system or furrows, how much water they actually ordered, how much do they receive, and then the associated application efficiencies versus their irrigation efficiencies, and then the associated percentages at the bottom. And then like I said, this is just the first page, but this is what we build our recommendations off of from here to help them improve that bottom efficiency number. We can move on to the next slide, please. So we're asking to continue the efforts of the program this year, like we have in the previous years. Like I say, we really appreciate the unwavering support of the board, the department, the people that we work with, the cooperators. As we're all aware, the water supplies are not increasing at any point, and our demand continues to increase and diversify. It's the district's position, as well as my own personal, that we continue these efforts in this critical time to help sustain this industry and really the foundation of our economy here throughout the AMA and in the county. With that's pretty much my presentation. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been a couple of years, and it's good to see everybody here. And if you have any questions for me, I'm here.
Thanks, Chris.
Leslie, I'd like to ask a question.
Absolutely.
Chris, could you tell us what the most requested service you received from your farmer clients, maybe first top 1, 2, 3, whatever makes sense?
Sure, it's probably a tie between water measurement and irrigation scheduling is probably the top two, followed by BMP questions. and whether that's
Okay,
helping them actually fill out an application for the BMP or if it's just some of the details about the program. Some people are trying to figure out if it's applicable to them at this point, depending on where they're at in their operation and what's going on around them, if you know what I mean.
yes, I do. Thank you.
Hello, this is Frank Fairbanks. I first a comment, then a simple question. This has been a great program over the years, and it has consistently produced results. And it's especially appropriate that, in a way, it's funded by the agricultural community themselves through their own withdrawal fees. It's a great program. My question is, and Chris, you mentioned your website, which I think is great, and I'm not sure you said whether the website recognizes that a part of your program, a part of your funding, a big part of your funding comes from the withdrawal fee and from the Department of Water Resources.
Frank, I appreciate the comment and the support. Actually, I do put mention ADWR quite a bit in there in our association with them, as well as the conservation district. I don't believe I put anywhere in there specifically where the funds come from the tax, that kind of a situation. I didn't go into that much detail, but the association with the Department of Water Resources as well as the conservation district are in there, as well as their logos and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to disclose board member names or anything more
Yeah.
specific than that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, really kind of the association and the foundation of what the program is what my intention was.
Leslie, this is Frank Fairbanks. I agree with you, and I don't think anybody needs credit except the department. But I also, it's your website and it's up to you, but I think there'd be a benefit to recognize that some of the withdrawal fees that the farmers are paying helps pay for the program, because I know for many farmers that paying that fee is not a wonderful event. And I think it is good that they know they're getting at least some of it back. But it's your website. And I think a mention that some of the funding for the program comes from the withdrawal fee would be a good thing. Thank you.
Leslie, can I go again?
Yes.
Frank, I thought that was a good suggestion because that is a bone of contention in the grower ag community. These withdrawal fees, they see a direct result of them. They're getting something back. That's good. And my question goes to that, Fred, is I know some of this answer as a grower, but for discussion, how do you let growers, farmers know about the program? And you talked a little bit about being on with Julie and that venue, social media type thing. And do you work with commodity groups? Like tomorrow I'm going to Arizona Cotton Growers Board meeting. Have you ever presented there or in any of our other groups, or is that even a thought?
Do you appreciate it? Actually, no, not any of the cooperative groups like that. I have not, but that is something I would love to be invited to, and something that I've worked towards to be involved in some of these other even field days, and have yet to get on their lists for some reason to be notified of when they're having them. But that's something I would, and if you can help in that capacity in any way, shape, or form, Steve, that would be fantastic. As far as reaching out to growers, and I think really at this point, Steve, what for the most part, the program is established and so by word of mouth for the most part, we get a lot of our business, if you will, from other growers that have already participated with the program. to new ones that have not done anything. Otherwise, it's kind of that there's plenty of times where I've asked growers, hey, is there somebody that you can refer me to that you think might benefit from any of the services, or anything like that? And I'll reach out to people. I'll cold call all the time. So
Very good. Well, you helped yourself at your earlier answer. Our executive with the cotton growers I saw her attending she's on the list here attending the meeting, JD Roner. So JD, we need to get NRCS and Fred on the speaking agenda. We meet quarterly, Fred, just to let you know. We're meeting tomorrow, so you can kind of base it off of that. But she'll be reaching out, I would suspect. Thank you, Leslie.
Absolutely, thank you. And I actually was just on, Chris, looking at your website, and it is very nicely done. So don't say you're not a tech guy. But I do agree with Frank.
Yes.
You mentioned a lot of cooperative partnerships, but I think it might be impactful to folks to let them know where at least this grant funding comes from. So appreciate your time
Absolutely.
this morning.
Okay. Well, thank you for your positive feedback on that website. It was quite a task for somebody whose skill level is at mine, but we got it done. Yeah, I'll definitely look at that and see where I can add that in. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our next presentation. Next, we have Jeremiah Churchill from the town of Gilbert.
Hello, thank you everyone for your time today. I did provide a presentation, and I'm not. There we go. Awesome. So yes, I serve as the Water Resources and Conservation Coordinator with the town of Gilbert, and this is regarding renewing our WMAP grant for our Smart Irrigation Controller Rebate Program. Next slide, please. So just to give a little background at Gilbert, we do have a diverse water portfolio that includes the Colorado River, salt and verde supplies, groundwater, and we utilize all of our reclaimed water. Next slide, please. And just to break that down so you can kind of get a better understanding of the percentage of water that we do receive. Colorado River is approximately 41%, with salt and verde making up for the other 40%, and then the recharge is 15%, and our renewable groundwater supply of 4%, or safe yield, I'm sorry. Next slide, please. So the bottom line up front. So basically, this just summarizes where we're at. I know a lot of you probably are familiar with this, but the Colorado River is producing less water than ever before. Even with a favorable hydrology, one good year of snowpack and runoff will not replace 20 years of drought. And currently, we are utilizing our water supply reduction management plan to help strategize how we can move forward with this. Next slide, please. So we are in stage 1 of our water supply reduction management plan. This focuses on education and voluntary reductions. Next slide, please. So in 2021, we teamed up with SRP to do a smart controller pilot program. We were able to install and properly program 100 smart controllers throughout the town of Gilbert. What we were able to do was take a 3-year pre-consumption average and compare that to a year post-consumption average after the smart controller was installed. And what we saw was an average of about over 23,000 gallons saved per year with a properly programmed smart irrigation controller. Next slide, please. So with this, we realized that there was a great opportunity here with technology and getting in people's hands. So in September 2022, we launched our first rebate program, the Smart Controller Rebate Program for both residential and non-residential customers. So with the residential customers, they can receive up to $250 for the Smart Controller. This just includes the purchase of the controller, no tax, no installation, just the cost of the controller itself. The non-residential customers can receive up to 400 per site, but they are allowed to receive that up to 2 times. Some of the benefits of the smart controllers, and I'll highlight them a little bit more later, but it can prevent overwatering, which can reduce the risk of water runoff and erosion. Water and cost savings seen has, like I mentioned, with a 23,000 gallons average, there are cost and water savings through this program. Next slide, please. So just to give you a scope of or capacity of what we're able to do with this funding. So throughout, it launched in 22, and you can see that it has increased, but in 2025, we're not yet complete, but we do anticipate having around 200 and what our estimates are about 250 again this year. But through that, since the launch, we've been able to approve 765 rebates. We awarded over 114,000 to our customers. And again, based off the estimated water savings of that 23,000 gallons saved per year with a properly programmed controller, this program has saved over 18 million gallons of water so far. Next slide, please. So for us, part of our mission is to provide outreach, and that kind of falls under that stage 1 of our drought management plan, our water supply reduction management plan. So we do a lot of seasonal campaigns to our HOA communities, our CII, commercial, industrial, institutional, our churches, our schools, all of those to let them, to make them informed of the opportunity with this Smart Controller program. We also put on workshops in the spring and fall where we will, it's about an hour-and-a-half workshop on smart controllers. And we have a couple of different brands that we will, or models that we will focus on that are more popular for residential customers. And we'll go through all of the water-saving benefits of the smart controller and teach the customers how to properly program it. Because the most important part of the smart controller is that it's properly programmed, so it's taken advantage of all those water smart features. And with that, we also have a water efficiency checkup program, and the two really go together very well, because a customer will buy a smart controller, they'll install it, they'll get the rebate, but then they'll also request a checkup where one of our trained specialists can go out to the customer, walk them through how to properly program the controller, and even program it right then and there for the customer. So we do about 700 checkups a year. This year, we're going to probably be closer to 750. But a lot of these checkups, the customers are taking advantage of our assistance to help them make sure that they're utilizing all of the water smart features of the smart controller. Next slide, please. And again, it's education. If you can have the technology, but if it's not properly programmed, or if the customers don't really understand it, it's more of a standard controller, and we can see the same patterns of people overwatering 2 to 5 times more than what they should be watering, what's recommended. So education is a huge part of this rebate program, where we're really trying to even go out to HOA communities who have clubhouses, and we'll put on a workshop there about smart controllers too. This past year, we had a couple of those besides our seasonal workshops, where we're able to get out there because of the demand and present to them on topics like a smart controller. Next slide, please. So this rebate program does highlight a lot of the criteria for evaluation for this, which really focuses for us reducing that outdoor demand, because again, we are seeing through our checkup program just a lot of overwatering. People just assume it's 120 degrees out that they have to water everything every day. And it's really that buy-in, trust the science, trust the controller, trust the properly programming, and just let it be for a little while and just see how it works. And we've received a lot of positive feedback that hey, we used to water every day. We used to water our trees and shrubs and everything every day. And now we're watering it once every 10 days in the summer, and everything still looks happy and healthy. And that's what we really want, is for our customers to provide the right amount of water to their plants. And this controller, the rebate program, the smart controller, has really done that. And by renewing this 2-year grant, it was a total of $45,000 over the 2 years. That would really help us provide more to our customers, potentially reaching another 600 customers in those 2 years. And again, just to highlight, if the customers buy into it, they program it correctly, we do see these water savings. Next slide, please. So for us, we're very data driven. We want to make sure that what we are doing is resulting in water savings. So each year we do our 2024 water scorecard, where we are crunching those numbers, the pre, the post. Again, since the program, the rebate program launched, we have helped save over 18 million gallons of water. And we would really like to continue this with you all, because the additional support really does increase our capacity and what we're able to do. With that, next slide, please. I really appreciate everybody's time and support. It does mean a lot for us here because rebates like this, they do go a long way. So thank you for your time. We do truly appreciate it. And I'm here for any questions if anybody has any.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Frank, do you have a question?
Again, a comment and a question. It's this has been a good program that's produced results, and I voted for it in the past, mostly because I saw it as a demonstration program, an opportunity to show other cities and other localities how a program like this could have a real impact on water consumption. My question, and I think you've successfully done that. It's a very well operated program. It's producing the results that were hoped for. I guess my question is when would you see the financial support from the department ending? Is this something that you'd see going in perpetuity? Have we proven that the concept works and that other cities could adopt it? I would note that I know there's a number of cities who've made significant, very large investments in water conservation. I know there's several cities in the valley who actually will pay citizens to put in desert landscaping or to replace turf with artificial turf, all out of the water department budget. And Gilbert is a beautiful community, probably not the poorest community in the metropolitan area. And so my question is when would you see that this is the end of the conservation fund funding for this program?
Oh, that's a great question, Frank. For us, we just, we besides the smart controller program, we also do have the grass removal rebates too that recently just started within the past, I think, 2023. So just funding in general, I mean, this really supports the program and allows us to provide more opportunities for our customers. So next 2 years, we truly could use this funding to support this program. Long term, it is technology. Once it becomes more and more available and more frequent, I'm not sure if this is just going to be a common thing for people to install. But right now, part of our battle is doing the checkups, informing those people who have those standard controllers to switch them out to the smart technology. So the capacity is still there for us to do more, and this funding over the next 2 years would really provide that support that we need. And I'm not sure, we could see in maybe 2 years from now where the smart controller rebates, maybe they're declining because people just, all of them, that's what they normally get now. It's just a smart controller. But I'm not sure. Funding wise, with our rebate programs, we have a really high demand for all of our rebate programs right now, and our funding is stretched very, very thin. And because of the demand of some other programs like the water efficiency checkup program, we have to pull some funding, be able to make sure that we're able to provide our residential customers help with leak investigations and help with irrigation scheduling. So, in a couple of years from now, we might be at a better spot with that, but it would be hard to answer, like, long term, when would this funding not be needed, because funding, it's just so valued, and we need the support.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Leslie.
Thanks, Frank. Jeremiah, I was just looking back through my notes, and I'm sure you said this a couple of times, but how much are your rebates for smart controllers?
So for the residential, it's up to $250, and they can do it once. And for our non-residential customers, they can get up to $400, but they're allowed to do that twice per site, because we've have HOAs out here that have 50 controllers. So those larger
And
HOAs, we just.
No, that helps. How much do the controllers cost? And generally, I know you had a picture.
Right now, the average is, I think it's around 185 for all those that were approved. I think it was over 700, close to 800. The average was, it was about 185, I believe, in that area. But each quarter, when we have submitted for funding reimbursement, we've exceeded the allowable limit for each quarter. So there is a high demand for these still. So yes, but 185, I would say.
Okay, so does that mean that they can get their controller for free, essentially?
We cover the cost of the controller, but no tax or no installation.
So Leslie.
Yes.
So my question to Jeremiah goes back to capacity, and I know you're going through those numbers pretty quick, and I have some of them in front of me, but with what your budget and what your funds and what you're receiving, what is the annual capacity that you can provide to residents?
As in how many we're able to do?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say about 300. In 2023, we almost reached our max funding of the 45,000. That's what we. So I would say about 300 rebates we can do per year.
300 per year. Okay. All right. And I'll just tag in with Frank Fairbanks. He had a good comment on what he was talking about in the funding. And it looks like a great program in the city. I ask myself exactly why the farmers of this AMA should be funding that for the city dwellers. But I do see the benefit in the program, but I think Frank had a good comment. I'll throw in, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the city should wean themselves off of this funding and get it to fly on its own or with other sources off the top of my head. But nice presentation. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Well, I appreciate everybody's time.
Okay, thank you. Right, so I think now, Frank and Steve and I, are we all ready? Maybe we need to have a little bit more discussion, but to make a recommendation about funding of these projects.
Steve,
Okay,
I
Steve and
think
Frank, you're both muted.
thank you.
Sorry, excuse me. I like both the projects, Leslie, and it looks like they're both in their last year. You know, we heard from on the water conservation program that they probably like to continue. But anyway, can we continue funding these and stay at the withdrawal rate of 35 cents? And that's a question to staff.
I think that's a great question, and that's where I was going in the earlier conversation. So let's let Frank, I think Frank might have some comments, and then maybe we can go back to that slide that Tommy showed us earlier and try to figure out how we, if we can fit in the Gilbert proposal too.
Oh, Frank's on mute now. All these old men, we don't know how to work these technologies.
I'm sorry. Frank
Yeah.
Fairbanks. I agree with Steve in that it's good to look at the impact of both programs on the fee as part of making a decision. I am ready to make a decision. I assume that when it comes time, Steve would make the motion on the ag program. And I think we ought to look at them individually rather than together. With that, I think we need to look at the funding impact as Steve asked.
Okay, thank you. So let's look back at the funding impact, and then, yes, Frank, I'm fine with looking for approval individually on them. So can we go back to the slide that Tommy showed us before about the impact at 35 cents, or the balances at 35 cents?
Yes, I am pulling that up. Just one moment here. Not from Chris.
So while we're waiting, this is Tommy. I believe Mr. Jeremiah basically got back to you on your question, Leslie. The Gilbert Smart Irrigation Controller Rebate Program was funded for 45,000 on the span of 2 years, 2024 and 2025.
Right. Yes, and I see that in the notes that we have too in the list of agreements. So it looks like if we keep the water management fee at 35 cents an acre, we start in 2026, it does look like there's room for 20, and I'm assuming there it's $22,500 per year for 2026 and 2027 for the Gilbert proposal. Is that a good assumption? That it's paid half in each year?
One moment, let me clarify this before we provide an answer.
No, Leslie, I'm looking at something they sent to us in the packet on the Gilbert Smart Irrigation. It says $6,000 in the remaining funding column. That's what I was operating
It
on.
does, but it does look like it was,
Let's see here.
when you look overall, it looks like it was $5,000 for 2 years in 2024 and 2025. So maybe I just don't, I'm not sure how we make those payments.
Yes, understand.
Okay, so we discussed a little bit, and so this current contract that they have right now ends at the end of 2025. So the renewal contract would actually be coming out of the 2026 year fund there. And when we're thinking of committed funding, that $45,000 total amount would be coming out of the 2026 final number, because we take out the committed funds as a whole. It will be distributed physically over the course of 2 years, but that total comes out from the committed funds.
Okay, so what that means though is essentially that far right column would be $45,000 less based on this and based on adding these two every year throughout that process starting in 2026. So
That is
it does
correct.
look like there are enough funds at the 35-cent level and based on what we have in front of us to be able to fund both of these. The water management assistance program is in the second column, and then if we subtracted 45,000, there is funding. Steve, is that how you see it too?
Yes.
That is how we.
Leslie.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, but that's how I'm reading it.
Okay.
And that is also how we are reading that as well. If for any reason that is incorrect, we will absolutely readdress, but that is the same understanding that we have from what we are reading and seeing in our projections here.
Okay, so if we approach this as Frank had suggested, it's okay if we vote separately on the two, is that right?
Correct. Yep, we will do one at a
Okay.
time.
So let's look at the Water Conservation Management Program that Chris presented on today. Do we have somebody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. Madam Chair, I'd like to, since I think last year staff told us out of these funds, about 67% comes out of the agricultural sector, if I recall. I know it was north of half, but somewhere around there. And that might have adjusted last year, I understand. But the Water Conservation Management Program is something beneficial to farmers in the farm community. And so I would like to recommend renewal.
Madam Chair, this is Frank Fairbanks. I second the motion.
Thank you very much. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have consensus then to approve the Water Conservation Management Program proposal for funding. Now let's move to the Gilbert Smart Irrigation Controller Rebate Program. Based on what we heard today from Jeremiah, do we have a motion on that?
Madam Chair, I think this is a wonderful program and that it's done a service for the fund and for water conservation by proving that this can work successfully and make a difference. I'm not sure this is the kind of program that on a continuing basis provides results that dramatically change or significantly change the overall area's program. My first thought was to make a motion to approve the program for 1 year with the proviso that it would give the city a chance to seek and obtain substitute funding. Hearing support from the rest of the committee, I think I would move that we recommend to the director that the project be funded for 2 years with the provision that the program funding would terminate at the end of the 2 years, not because it isn't a good program, not because it isn't producing results, but because this funding really needs to be moving the yard marker. We need to be looking for innovative new programs. We need to find ways to make a difference in saving water throughout the valley. This is very limited to a very small segment of the valley. And we need, if we're going to do new funding, we ought to be looking at other areas. Maybe we need a WCMP program for the East Valley. Who knows? But I would say that I move that we fund it for the 2 years as proposed, with the recognition that there will be no funding out of this funding source after the 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
And Madam Chair, I would second the motion and agree with Mr. Fairbanks' comments as well.
Okay, so just to summarize, we're voting to approve this for 2 years with the recommendation that it's just for 2 more years and that the town of Gilbert will look for alternative funds after the 2 years. Taylor, do you have everything you need for us to vote on this?
Yes, I have the notes to present to the director based on your motion.
Okay, great, thank you. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, right, so we're all in agreement. Thank you very much.
Madam,
Okay, I think we're, yes.
Madam Chair, just a brief comment. All of our actions are recommendations to the director,
Yes,
and he
yeah.
sees a much broader scope. And if the director decides to change any of this, I believe in his wider view. But I think it's important that we share our perspective. That's why we're here, is to give our recommendations and our point of view. Thank you.
Well said.
Thank you, Frank. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. And that's why I wanted to make sure that Taylor felt like she could summarize our recommendation to him with what had been said so far. So I think we're in a great place, and I think we're all in agreement on that. So thank you. So let's move on to agenda item number 6, DCP completed projects presentation. We have Andrew Frazier to present.
Thank you, members of the council and ADWR staff. My name is Andrew Frazier. I'm the district engineer for Maricopa Water District. Here to present kind of the overall project for what was the drought contingency or groundwater conservation grant that we did through the DCP. This grant kicked off in 2020. We'll kind of go through the background of the project, what we accomplished, and some of the savings that we've experienced in terms of groundwater to date. Next slide, please. It looks like we're missing one. This was a black slide originally with all white text. It looks like it somehow got transferred to white when it got sent over to you. So I will, go ahead and wing it from my presentation here in front of me. So MWD is a water conservation district in the west side of Phoenix. We're kind of located over by the White Ting Mountains. We serve approximately 60 square miles. Our history dates back to the late 1800s. And many of the areas within our district are still served by our original concrete line ditches and culvert system. Many of these areas are aging and deteriorated at this point. And we have some significant capacity constraints as a result. So MWD has certified water rights to the Agua Fria River, so we do have a renewable surface water supply, and then we supplement that water with groundwater. The Northern Avenue lateral in particular, at the time we submitted for grant funding, was operating at about 60% of its original design capacity. This was largely due to crushed culverts along Northern Avenue at the intersections. Most of them were old, deteriorated CMPs, and we weren't able to move as much water as we used to. So MWD had a well, or has a well, located about halfway down the Northern Avenue lateral that we relied on to supplement our surface water. So when we couldn't deliver, or we didn't have the ability to deliver as much surface water as we would like, we would supplement with groundwater. And we had a kind of a continued reliance on this groundwater from this particular well due to the condition of the Northern Avenue lateral. Next slide. So the scope, back in 2019, prior to the grant, this is something that MWD was looking at. We identified 6 culverts in particular along Northern Avenue where we had choke points. Again, these were all corrugated metal pipes. Many of them had been in the ground for 40, 50 years or more. They were crushed, rusting, deteriorated. Additionally, they would hold debris. So the picture on the right, that shows about 15 CFS or 600 miners inches. These ditches were designed to carry 1,000. So when I say 60% capacity, what would happen then is if we tried to push the original design capacity, we would flood these intersections. These culverts were not able to handle, what it was designed to handle. So grant funding was sought through the DCP program to replace the additional 5 culverts in a kind of accelerated timeline and reduce the reliance on the groundwater from our well located at Northern Avenue and Citrus. Next slide. So construction began in Q4 of 2022 and continued through Q3 of 2024. While the grant was originally given in 2020, we encountered a lot of slowdown due to COVID, not only in materials. Materials was an issue, labor was an issue. The elliptical pipes that were selected, which you can see in the bottom right, were sort of specialty order items that were very difficult to get from the pipe manufacturers at that time. So we started in Q4 of 2022 and continued through Q3 of 2024. Each culvert requires approximately 1 full week of work and full road closures of these intersections, impacting the residents within these neighborhoods. And then, in addition to the material availability, we also experienced a lot of utility conflicts. So this area of our district is older. There are a lot of unmarked utility lines. We cut through several unmarked Cox communication lines, other communication lines. We encountered some APS duct banks that were not where they were supposed to be. So that did slow down construction quite a bit as well. And, we did select a concrete elliptical pipe due to its profile and its longevity. Next slide. So, by and large, the culvert replacement has restored the capacity along Northern Avenue close to its original design. This increased capacity has allowed us to deliver more surface water as a fraction of what we deliver along Northern Avenue and rely less on groundwater. If you look at the 5-year rolling average, of groundwater pumped from our well located at Northern Avenue, you can see a significant decrease, particularly when we started this process back in 2022. So next slide. So since the initiation of construction, the 5-year rolling average has fallen from about 300 acre feet per year from this particular well to 200. To date, we estimate that it's saved about 350 acre feet of groundwater from this single well. In the short to midterm, we believe that these savings will continue year over year. So you're saving approximately 100 feet per year from where we were about 5 years ago. And this is 170 acre feet less than where it was historically from 1984 through 2024. In the long term, there's a few pieces of remaining farm ground that will disappear. In the long term, we think that we'll continue to see the use of that well fall. and continued reliance or ability to deliver surface water as a result. So we're looking at long-term savings of 120 to 130 per year, maybe realized in the next 5 to 8 years. Happy to take any questions and appreciate your time.
Thanks, Andrew. Nice work. Frank or Steve, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Andrew, during that project, how upset with you were the homeowners when you blocked their road access? I bet that was a lot of fun.
Well, they were actually pretty easy to deal with because our projects were pretty minor compared to what's been going on the west side. So they're angry at a lot of people. Thankfully, us as the water district are very small potatoes compared to what they've been experiencing.
Yeah. How many agricultural acres do you service now in your district?
We just did a recent survey. I believe we're somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's have you done a projection? How long are you going to stay at that? What will you look like in 10 years? That kind of thing.
It really depends on land values. We have seen we got very good at growing warehouses for a while instead of crops. We have seen that market kind of fall off a little bit. There are a lot of warehouses that were built as speculative buildings that are empty at this point. We'll see what the general economy does. So as far as I can tell, at least what we've seen planned for now, a lot of the farm ground that we have left, there's no current plans for development. The value of the land is substantial, though, in the 303 corridor. And so as the economy turns around, as these warehouses, the existing warehouse space gets full, that could change pretty quickly. So,
Yeah.
but we're hopeful that we'll have the 5,000 to 6,000 acre feet, for the next 3 to 4 years at least. Or sorry, 5,000 to 6,000 acres for the next 4 years.
Yeah. No, good assessment of what's going on. I concur. Just out of curiosity and for everybody here, I just live down the road from you guys, but in its peak, how many acres were you servicing?
About 45,000.
Yep. Some of the nicest farm ground in Maricopa County.
And the best
Now
water.
paved over. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is Frank Fairbanks. Where is the well, more or less, that has had its production cut back as a result of being able to use renewable resources?
It's located at Northern Avenue and Citrus on the southwest corner, which is approximately halfway down the Northern Avenue lateral.
Okay. And approximately, what is the depth of the groundwater?
I would have to, I believe in that area it's around 300 feet.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you all.
All right, I think we're ready to move on to agenda item 7, groundwater withdrawal fee recommendation. I think we've already started talking about this, but I will throw it over to Frank and Steve maybe for some comments and then follow up with mine.
Thank you, Leslie.
There we go.
I would like to make a few general comments. From what I see in our packet and what staff has said, it doesn't appear to me that we need to raise it. As I said earlier, over half comes from the ag community. And my ag community right now are facing a reduction in commodity prices to help us pay them for this irrigation water that comes up. Alfalfa, which has become a major commodity in 3 years, it's seen about a 65% reduction in price, yet the cost to produce it continues to rise. We measure that usually by the ton. which is easily equated to acre. In our irrigation district, we had a 13% raise in water district, and one of them that I was in. The second one had a little bit smaller one, but then they lowered it later in the year, which was good. But their water costs are already, the second irrigation district that I use less water is already double what my first primary district provider is. And then power, I know Leslie's the guru and all of that, but within our irrigation electrical district, there's phases and stages and steps of power buy, and we've seen anywhere from 4% to 18% increases there. So I'm doing my usual plea of poverty on the ag community. It's difficult out there, folks. Very difficult right now. I really wonder how a younger, smaller farmer would be making it right now. I'm glad I'm at the other end of my career. So you can see where I'm going. If anything, I wish we could reduce it, but I don't think that's on the agenda. So I would be a strong advocate for remaining as it stands. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Steve.
Madam Chair, I agree with Steve in many ways. There certainly is a lot of pressure on the farming community. And sadly, I think electricity prices are going to continue to significantly increase for a lot of reasons. But at any rate, I think everybody would agree that the pressure on the water supply for our area, the area that we're responsible for, the area that we are supposed to be worrying about, is going to do nothing but increase in the future. And while respecting Steve's perspective, which I think is valid and correct, I think we need to be conscious that the issue of water conservation, and particularly the issue of protecting our groundwater, is critical to everybody. It's critical to cities. It's critical to ag. It's critical to business and employment for the people of the valley. So our role is really to protect that groundwater and make sure that it's used appropriately while respecting the rights of the various users. I believe this fund is critical in solving problems when problems come up. I believe it's important in getting the data we need to be able to deal with this issue rationally. I think it's critical in piloting and coming up with new and better approaches to saving water. And for that reason, it's awfully hard for me to ever support a reduction in the fee from where it is today. Having said that, I think the balances that are shown in the report also make it hard today to increase the fee when we are having increasing balances and where we do have some capacity for really good new projects that would have a real impact on saving groundwater, would have a real impact on making water available for people throughout the valley and multiple users. So I guess following what Steve said is I'm supportive of maintaining where it is today, again, recognizing that there are valid arguments both ways, both in terms of lowering it and increasing the fee to be able to do more, so that I'd be ready to make a recommendation to maintain whenever the chair would like such a motion. But I certainly would respect the director's not only power, but also responsibility to do something different if he thought it was in the best interest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you both. And I will just add, from my perspective, I agree with what both of you have said. I think it's important for us to be very thoughtful in our recommendation to the director. I look back through, as we're talking about this, the really good, significant projects we have going on today. We had 2 more today that I think were very well founded. I think it's important for this program to support good water management. I feel like we're doing that. I feel like staying within the existing fees today, we can fund the things that have been brought to the table for us today and that we all agree are good projects. We have projects in the queue today that are ending in 2026 and 2027. I agree. I think we should stick with the rate that we're at today. I think we're funding the proposals as they are, recommending funding of proposals as they're brought to us. And I think it's really important to think long and hard about all of the resources that go into development and use of groundwater today. And I think it's just very important for us to be prudent with this fee. And I agree, I think we should stick with the 35 cents. In our recommendation should be to stay with the 35-cent fee for 2026. So I think we're probably ready to have a vote on our recommendation. I will go back again to Taylor and make sure that based on what we've said so far, you feel comfortable with us moving forward with that.
Yes, thank you for clarifying there. We are ready to move forward.
Okay. Do we have a motion for a recommendation?
Madam Chair, this is Frank Fairbanks. I would move that we recommend to continue the existing fee of 35 cents to the director.
Thank you.
Second, Bales.
Thank you. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. So we are all in agreement. So thank you very much, Taylor. I think we appreciate you taking that recommendation for us to the director. And now we are on to agenda item 8, the AMA Director of Operations report, and I will turn it over to Dave.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'd like to begin with an organizational update. As many of you know, our former director, Natalie Mast, has moved on to a new role with the Central Arizona Project, and we wish her well and thank her for her service. I now have the privilege of serving as one of 2 new AMA directors. My role will be ensuring that the day-to-day operations of the AMAs are running smoothly, while also supporting critical programs like the Ag to Urban program. Olga Hart will serve as the other AMA director. She'll be leading the efforts to manage the newly regulated areas as groundwater challenges emerge across the state. This includes working across the department and in close coordination with the governor's office to identify, assess, and better manage Arizona's critical water supplies. These changes strengthen the AMA program by ensuring consistent operational oversight across existing programs and by positioning us to respond effectively as new regulatory needs arise. I also want to highlight leadership related to GUAC operations. Taylor Pearson is serving as the AMA program supervisor and oversees the GUAC process, while our GUAC coordinator position remains vacant. At this time, we are actively working to hire a replacement and are well on our way to filling that role. Across the state, a few relevant updates include the Wilcox and Douglas subsequent AMAs. Following the governor's designation of the Wilcox and Douglas subsequent AMAs, the department is working to establish the regulatory framework and management strategies for those areas. While separate from the Phoenix AMA, the issues are interconnected. What happens in one AMA can inform policies in another. The creation of these new AMAs underscores the importance of strong data management tools and local input for shaping the future of groundwater regulation across the state. Also, at the same time, the Colorado River negotiations, as we know that Arizona's water future is closely tied to the Colorado River. The department is deeply engaged in negotiations with our basin partners and the federal government to develop post-2026 operating guidelines. The outcome of these negotiations will shape the entire state's water security. Reduced reliance on the river in central Arizona places added importance on the sustainable management of local groundwater supplies. And then finally, councils like this are invaluable. We recognize that the issues facing Phoenix are distinct, and your insights and expertise will shape how and where we implement policy. I also want to highlight a few immediate opportunities and reminders. The Ag to Urban public meeting will be held on September 18th regarding the Ag to Urban process. For context, the Ag to Urban process addresses transfers of groundwater from agricultural to urban uses. As Arizona's population grows and some agricultural areas reduce water use, the department must carefully evaluate these transfers to ensure that our regulatory programs, water supply planning, and conservation efforts remain balanced and sustainable. This process has added complexity to our work, which is why the new leadership team and upcoming public engagement are so important. In closing, I want to emphasize that while our challenges are significant, we are taking meaningful steps, and your continued engagement ensures that our work is grounded in the realities on the ground here in Phoenix. Thank you again for your time and your commitment to advancing sustainable water management, and I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you, David. So I will ask my colleagues on the council, do you have any questions for David?
Hi, David. Steve Bales here. No, I don't have a direct question, but on that, well, it is a question. The Ag to Urban meeting you just talked about, I got an email on that too. Refresh me. That's a public meeting at the DWR auditorium. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is the time again?
That I don't know. Taylor, do you know that?
1 o'clock.
1 p.m.?
1 p.m.
I will double check.
We can confirm that.
I've got an email in here. If I would get unlazy, I'll dig it up. Thank you. Thanks, Dave, for your comments.
Hi, this is Anthony Perano, Deputy Counsel with the Department of Water Resources. I just wanted to chime in real quick and confirm that is Thursday, September 18th, beginning at 1, scheduled to run until about 4:30.
Thank you, Anthony.
I don't have, this is Frank Fairbanks. I don't have much in the way of comments other than to say it sounds like you're doing all the right things and that you're heading in the right direction. Congratulations to all of the changes, and look forward to further progress in dealing with the water conservation issue, which is, of course, one of the most important issues facing us all in the long term. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thanks to all of you very much for getting this together today. Our next agenda item is a call to the council, so I guess we have a chance again. If there's anything else that we would like to bring up.
Nothing from me, Leslie, other than I am curious from staff, why the move to only virtual? Is that something done across the whole department?
I'll take that question. It's something that's just kind of held on, but in the future, we intend to move these meetings to in-person.
Okay, well, I'm just speaking for me. We've had some in-person ones since COVID, and I appreciate the chance. But I would say this to my chair and vice chair, when we're having this particular meeting, which to me is quite important because we set the rates, the withdrawal rates, and we also look at these projects and the fundings. And this is a major part of our responsibility here that Frank eloquently spoke about. And I personally would appreciate the in-person meeting for this particular, when this is on the agenda, these items. And that's just my personal preference. Thank you.
This is Frank Fairbanks. I am on computer only because I had a very long-standing family commitment that I couldn't get out of. But I thought it was possible to come in and participate in the meeting. Had I been in Phoenix, I would have. Wasn't that possible in this meeting?
We
Go ahead.
did intend to keep this meeting virtual just
Oh,
because of
okay.
the GUAC coordinator vacancy and change of leadership. It was
Oh,
just going to be a lot more efficient for us to have a virtual meeting this fall. But we do share your values of, the in-person contact of having these meetings and want to see that forward.
okay. I'm sorry I misunderstood. I agree with Steve that in-person meeting, especially, I guess COVID is behind us, thank heaven. But the personal meetings allow better participation, I think. So thank you.
Thank you. And I agree. I do appreciate the opportunity, and I know today's turned out to be virtual only, which I think has its advantages in these situations with Frank out of town. And I don't know if you can see my scooter over here, but I actually have a broken leg and have somewhat limited mobility right now. So I appreciate the opportunity. This actually worked out fine for me too. But I agree with Steve in the future. I do think it's always better, especially for the council who only gets to really see each other and engage with each other at this time of the year. It's nice for us to be able to spend some time together face to face. So appreciate that. So we'll go to the call to the public.
Madam Chair,
Oh,
before we
yeah.
move off, let me just add another comment. I want to compliment you on your great chairship today. You've done a terrific job. I was impressed. And then I'd add, I hope in breaking your leg, you were doing it having fun some way.
Thank you. And I really do wish I had a better story. But I was not necessarily having fun. And it's been a hard lesson in humility for me. But appreciate
Frank,
that. Thank you very much.
great comments. Frank does a great job chairing, and Leslie's been a great step in, fill in today. So thank you both.
Thank you. So how do we want to do our call to the public? Are we going to do comments in the chat, or do you have the ability? Do we have the ability for folks to speak?
To best streamline comments so we don't have interruptions, two comments first, and then we can essentially call on members of the public to contribute their question. If anybody happens to not have access to the chat down there, you can unmute yourself and speak. We want to make sure everybody does get heard.
But I am not seeing any comments in the chat. Okay.
Nor do I.
So unless there is an objection, I'll be adjourning the meeting. Are we ready?
I'm ready. Thank you.
Okay, hearing only support and no objections, the meeting is adjourned at 10:44.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the council.
Bye now.
Bye.